This video is brought to you by my patrons and by viewers like you. Greetings, groovy people. Welcome to Blue Dragon Art. I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. I am working on a vlog regarding my train trip to Illinois and back. In the interim, I need to do something relatively quick, so I'm just going to do a brief survey of some of the things that I worked on and what we discussed in my Art 101 student at large course that I took in like 2015, I believe. Now, I was not getting graded on this stuff. Also, my art is shit, but I want to show this stuff off and kind of give you an idea of some of the things that we did and we learned. Even though my art was, especially not at the time, even as good as it is now, I think it's still valuable. Like, all the stuff that I learned in here was very valuable. One thing that I appreciated in particular was that because it was like Art 101, there was an emphasis on introducing students to a lot of different types of mediums. There were students who did like some animation stuff for some of their projects. There were students who were doing like some digital art. Primarily in the course itself, we were doing physical art, but it was encouraged to experiment and work, like aside from doing like the assignments with prescribed instructions on what materials to use, there were some things that you could do that could incorporate other materials if you want. Again, this was Art 101. I need to preface this that at the time I had like absolutely no money, you guys. I was a secretary at the university, and so the class was being paid for. I was allowed to take it for free, and the only thing I had to pay for at the time was money for materials, for supplies. So part of why this, I mean, it's bad anyway because I'm not good with this type of art, but I had to use what I had money for. This right here, what I'm tying my codex with, this is a codex. It used to come in a box. I've since destroyed the box and gotten rid of it. We had to hand make the box to put our final project, which is our final assignment, which is like a description of everything that we learned throughout the course, which you were supposed to be doing each time we learned something. So it wasn't like something that we had to do like at the end, an aggregate of everything. It was something that we should be doing as we learned so that it wouldn't be like this big fucking project for us. But you know me and everybody else in this class, everybody waited last minute to put all that information into a thing, of course. But I didn't have a lot of money, so like the way I did it, I had to use like, I was reusing cardboard. That box is gone. Actually, this was something I think she gave us. Like, she gave us this paper, so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna fucking use that shit. These right here were, this is from the university newspapers that I had as a secretary. I was actually secretary of the chair, but I was still doing two fucking jobs because they refused to hire a receptionist at the front desk. So it was also my job to like make sure that the school paper got put in the place where it was supposed to be. So I would keep these strings and use them for all kinds of shit that they had it bundled with, that they had it bound with. So a lot of this is like repurposing of materials, you guys, and not necessarily in the most creative way ever, but you know what? That's fine. That's fine. This is how I fly. The information is still useful even if my art's not great. So yeah, this is just kind of scanning over some of the things that I have in the binder. This is from William Blake. It's the Red Dragon, but I use this for like one of my favorite pieces that I've ever done. I don't want to go into like a lot of detail about that piece. I might in another video, but again, I want this to be a quick video since I'm working on that vlog thing. But if the doors of perception, this was like one of my tries at doing calligraphy for this project that I was working on. So that's just the cover. Okay. The first thing that we studied was how to mix different colors of black. There is a way to mix black in several different ways. You can have like a cool, neutral, or warm. The colors that I was using was ultramarine and burnt sienna. If you want it to be more cool, you use more ultramarine. If you want your black to be neutral, you use equal parts of those two paints. All of this is acrylic, by the way. And if you want it to be more warm, then you use more burnt sienna. That was something that we talked about, as well as we learned how to do like gradation. So this little pocket here, I have everything like listed. So it goes from black to tint 1, all the way up to like this grayscale. So this is adding value, and learning the scale of value is like super important, because it's basically, you're learning the black and white grayscale first so that you can learn about contrast. If there's no contrast in an image, then everything's going to be kind of muddied and blurred together. So this is why this is like some of the most basic stuff that you can learn when you're in an art course. And it's something that if you don't have the money to take an art course, much like I did not, you can actually look this shit up online and learn it. We also did like discussions of the color wheel. So this is, if you see me using like split complementary colors, or using like complementary colors, or using analogous colors, that's like, I think analogous is when you use 3 colors that are like close to each other on the color wheel. All of this, while I still have to reference it now, years later, it's something that I was introduced to in my art courses, both back when I actually took it for like a degree and when I was taking it as student at large. So yeah, this is like some important stuff that sometimes if you're not actually taking a course that's laid out, you might overlook, or it might take you a while to learn it when you're kind of mapping out your own path. That's why I kind of want to show this, because this is like stuff that if you don't have someone guiding you, you might not think to look it up until later. So yeah, we had like the color studies, paper research. All of this is like research that we were given in the class, and I wanted to be a little creative. The reason why all of this is like this is because I was a big fan when I was young of the Jolly Postman, which was a book that I got at the Scholastic Book Order, where like it's letters that people are writing. The postal worker is taking all the post like to the people, and then like there are envelopes and you can pull it out. So that was kind of what I was drawing from when I put this weird ass codex thing together. This is like a letter explaining the history of paper. So yeah, I'm not going to get into this because again, this is just like a survey of what I learned, but there are different types of papers. You can have something like a Yupo, which is, it's a Japanese paper. This is translucent, it's very slick, it's made of plastic. This is an opaque Yupo paper. This is great for like different things. The nice thing about the survey class is that these were all provided to the students, all these samples, that's why I have them. We had to learn what they were and write it down. Like there's Canson, this is like a natural rag paper. You learned what the materials are made out of. Sometimes it's cotton, sometimes it's plastic, sometimes it's bamboo. I've got bamboo paper. That was not covered in this class, but learning about these different materials and introducing you to them will help you find what material you are the most comfortable working with. So right after the color studies, we did paper research. And learning the history of like what's in the things that you're using, I think is really important personally, especially since I am now a vegan. This is where I learned a lot of like I had to do research on sizing. Most of it's animal product. It's a glue. Sizing is a glue. It holds the paper fibers together. We learned how papers were made. Vellum, for instance, original vellum, not like what you go and buy at the store quite often now. The original vellum, I believe, is made out of like tanned animal hide or something like that. We thankfully did not get that. I would have had to have protested at some point. I didn't want to use it. But learning what your materials are made out of is so, it gives you more of an appreciation of the things that you use when you know how they're made, what they're made out of, when you learn how to do it yourself. We didn't actually learn how to make paper, but I have made paper before in the past. And I think it's just really useful because, you know, sometimes, like here, I did like ink paper. This is where I learned what shellac was and everything. It's just really, I don't know, I think knowledge is power, and if you can learn how to do things, or just having that appreciation, or being able to do it yourself is really important. Or even if you can't do it yourself, like I buy pre-made products, quite obviously, but I think just knowing where things came from is like really important. So this, like, you know, I did like a lot of information on like shellac. I've done a video talking about inks and what shellac is and where it comes from in the past. I'm not going to link it. You can find it if you want to, but like this is just telling you like all the information you need to know about how they used to do it. Like right here, y'all. Right here. What this image doesn't show you, I found a video of a person who sells shellac in India. I mean, this shows you the people stomping it, but oh my god, these people, Like, one of the reasons why I stopped using India ink was just because I felt really bad for like how it was produced and like the physical shape that some of these folks were in. Like when I was watching that guy's video about it, and he just didn't think anything of it. I guess you got to make a living somehow, but this isn't a video about that. So inking is kind of like my favorite thing. So, you know, we were taught, you know, this is where I didn't like learn stippling like from the get-go. I've learned it before in the past, but oh, hey, thank you, honey. But this was like a refresher on it. And also like the hatching. These are all techniques that I use now in my comic. A lot of this was not introduced, but I was reminded of it. This is an awful David Bowie. I have a better version of this that I don't need to show y'all right now because we're not talking about my shit art. We're talking about ink and hatching and shit like that. I've talked about this in great detail, but this information is what we were given in class. And so this is where I improved some of my skills that I didn't pay attention to in my original class because they didn't have illustration. And so I wasn't using it and applying it. I had to relearn it, and that was one of the reasons why I really like this class, because it's helped improve me, and I've since like kept improving and building on those skills that I learned. So if inking is something that you're interested in, that was something that was covered in our survey class. Calligraphy. Writing is an extremely important part of graphic novels. A lot of times we have mechanized, not making up words here. We've mechanized a lot of this, and that's fine. But for Dark Horse, because I didn't want any like copyright issues or anything, and the more that I think about like typography and how we really take for granted the people who make different types of fonts and shit, how many of you have actually paid someone for a font? When I was starting to copyright my shit, I had realized that, oh my god, I didn't buy these fonts, I'm just fucking using them. And that was really when Brad introduced me to Calligrapher, because I was like, I need to like make my own font. Now my own font is not great, I will say that. But I have since started like actually buying and keeping like my purchase logs of fonts, because these people are artists too. And if you've taken a calligraphy course or you've done something like that in class as we did, you really gain an appreciation of people who are like creating these fonts and wanting to actually pay it forward and pay it back to that type of artist. A lot of them aren't like doing calligraphy by hand anymore. Some of them are, and then translating it into like, you know, digitally so that you can use it and type it. Some of them are doing those fonts like in a program that's similar to, what the hell is it? Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, or something of that nature. But they really don't get paid very often for their work. Like sometimes people, if it's like for a book that's going to be published as professional and shit, quite often that's something that people make sure that they do, that they get the license for that. The license, that's the word. But when you do something like calligraphy and you actually have to physically struggle to write neatly, it really helps you gain an appreciation of the work that typographists, I don't think that's the word. Maybe that's the word, I don't know, I'm just making up words now. But the people who like work on typography, I feel like this really made me appreciate them more. I dabbled a little bit in calligraphy when I was in like grade school or some shit, but I never actually learned how to do calligraphy until I took this course. I still apply this today. I will show a Dark Horse page where this fucking shit that I was doing with the C-nib in this fucking 2015 class, I mean, my writing is not fantastic, but this is where I learned how to like at least make it somewhat legible. So calligraphy is another topic that we covered when we were in this survey course. This is me just kind of doing a sample. We had to like demonstrate that we learned the calligraphy. So on the cover you saw that if the doors of perception, I had written that kind of neat, but it's not like the neatest that I could do. So this is where I actually put the entire full quote from Blake. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite. It's like one of my favorite quotes, and this is something that I actually used in one of the pieces that I made for this course, a multimedia piece, which I'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes. And then like there's research here that I'm not gonna show you. But that's where I learned how to do this stuff. And you can learn too. So if there's anything in here that's like catching your eye, I highly recommend that you try to look it up and see if you can learn more about it and apply it. Oh my god, it's so fucking noisy today, you guys. Apply it in your own art. So silver point is something I had never done before in my life when I entered this class. I appreciated it because in Full Metal Alchemist, there are some images that look like they're mimicking silver point. They're in between chapter breaks and shit like that. Oh my god, I love fucking Hiromu Arakawa is like one of my favorite fucking... Full Metal Alchemist is just one of my favorite mangas still to this day. I'm rereading it. I'm gonna be rereading it once I finish Delicious in Dungeon. But yeah, this is awful. Please don't judge me, y'all. I don't even want to show you that. You're not even gonna see that. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'll try to like do some contrast here. But yeah, this is where I was introduced to silver point. I still have like the materials that we got from this class. I just did not like silver point. I don't see the point in using silver point because you can't hardly see it unless it's on black paper. Something that I didn't talk about yet that I just kind of want to make known is that like all of like this paper here, it looks plain white, but this is like cotton rag that we had access to in class. That's what the supply money went towards. But we were taught how to paint our own pieces of paper with the, what the hell was it called? It was like this white mixture. I forget what it's called, but when you're prepping your canvases for painting or you're prepping your paper for like working on it, it's this base that you paint on and let dry. We were taught how to do that in class. Again, taught how to do everything yourself so that you aren't just relying on other people. You are doing the work yourself. You're tearing your own paper. You're painting your own, it's not fixative. I can't remember the goddamn name of it. But you're painting your own base down. I can't remember, you guys. My brain is dead. This is like the day after I got back from my fucking train trip, okay? So y'all are lucky that I am this coherent, okay? You're lucky, not me. You. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. God, being sarcastic. Anyway, yeah, so that was something. Maybe I'll remember what it is by the end of this video. So we had a couple projects we had to work on. I want to talk about the mixed media project. I don't want to go into too much detail about it because I want to do an actual video on my piece. I think I called it The Second Coming, but across the piece is the word Götterdämmerung or Dämmerung? What the fuck am I saying? Götterdämmerung. There, I think I said it. Which is like the twilight of the gods is what that is. I'm mixing a lot of different like religious theology and shit like this, but the mixed media project, we had to use all of these fucking techniques. We were given a list of techniques and we had to apply them in this piece. So I've got like stencil, serral transfer, gum arabic, blender pen transfer, matte medium transfer, texture, pattern, collage element, an element of collage. And then because we would need to like defend our work and like receive criticism, and also the teacher wanted to know how we did what we did, I wrote down the dates, every single thing that I did for this piece. And again, I'm going to talk about this in another video, so I'm not going to go into it right now. But there was so much that went into this mixed media piece, and I ended up producing a piece that I am still proud of today. The professor said that it looked like it could be a professional book cover. She really liked it. Look, I got a compliment. Look, I got the thing that I wanted most in my life. Attention, notice me, senpai. Okay, I'm just kidding. I made up for her telling me I wouldn't get into grad school. Okay, we're moving along. But yeah, I even like gave out steps how I made this template here. You can kind of see how I did like, you know, the back. But then like I folded it in, you know, you fold it in half so that it would be like symmetrical and shit. And that's how I did this. Happy birthday, Mom. Oh, I guess I finished it on this template on the 4th September. Yeah, so like, and then I have like extra print-offs that I'd made. I included it in this. This right here, I think did I paint that? I either painted that or that's what I was looking at as a reference for the painting. I'll show you the finished version real quick if I can find it. I'll post it here. But yeah, this was the mixed media project. This other one is the Unloaded project. I might talk about this in a video too. But this was regarding like an art show. You can see I have contemporary artists. This was like from the actual art show at NIU, at the university. We all got to do like a trip where I think we went together, but we could go back if we wanted. But we had to go and take a look at this show that was going on, which was talking about like gun violence and the environment. And gun violence is very important for NIU because they are one of the colleges where a mass shooting happened. So if you want to come in here with your comments about gun rights, I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. Real people, real people's children, real human beings lost their lives at the university that I fucking worked at. I don't want to hear it. I don't care what you have to say because that's all I'm going to say. Pretty fucking traumatic. It was pretty fucking traumatic. So yeah, we had this project that we had to do, and I'm not, again, going to talk much about this one, but I was kind of like grappling with like the concept of like video game violence, how video games are quite often blamed for gun violence. So I had some pieces regarding that, and I'll talk about that in another video probably. And she liked the ideas for that, but she had some really cool suggestions on how I could have improved it. She thought that my pieces were more like a template or like an example and that they should have been larger. And I agree with her, but y'all, I had no fucking money. I couldn't make life-size fucking game shit, you know? Things that what the fuck? What the hell? What planet was she on? She was really nice. I really like her. I'm not gonna shit on her. I liked her. I really did. We had some heart-to-hearts. So one of the next mediums that we ended up learning about was watercolor. So this page here, I've glued these together. This is a watercolor cotton paper. So we had to give examples of watercolor. I just did like some abstract shit and then I did like this. I'm not like the best at watercolor. I'll use it sometimes, but I'm really not the best at it. It's a fine medium. I think it's really, like, I know a lot of people find it really hard to use, and I think I do also, but I'm also just a shit painter, so I don't really want to use it. I'm really more, I think I'm better with, like, illustrating, like, a hard line or something. So yeah, so watercolor, that was something that we learned about. We did research, we learned how to use it, we learned some different techniques like wet on wet or dry on wet or whatever. Lots of different techniques and things to experience. This had a lot of wet on wet, this one here, this little abstract thing here, and then like tape and stuff. I like to tape things down and paint over it and then pull the tape up. Watercolor was something that we did in our survey course. Altered media project, I don't even remember what I did for this. I can't remember, you guys. I didn't keep it because I didn't like it. But this is where you take something that already existed and then you changed it. So like I have this advertisement, these advertisements here. And then you like do something to change the message and transcend the message to something else. This is really cool. Like if you're going to get into zines like collage, like let's say you aren't particularly fond of like hand drawing things, but you're really good at like collaging things, or you like to draw over things and kind of alter the message of it. This is really fucking cool. This is something that you could think of for like a zine. This is how a lot of zinesters work. So that's something you can think of. It's within the realm of art. We also did like acrylic. I already knew about acrylics. I love acrylics. Some people like them, some people hate them. I like that acrylics dry pretty fast. The only problem is if you're working on a big piece and you've mixed some of your acrylics for color, you know, you gotta keep that wet, otherwise it dries really fucking fast and you gotta remix it and you'll never match it again. Maybe you won't. But yeah, so these were some new, like Golden Light came in and gave us like a propaganda talk, and then they gave us a bunch of free shit that I was able to use. Cool stuff, cool stuff. This was really cool, like these little beads to add texture to your paintings. I like this, I can't pronounce that, micaceous iron oxide. I loved how metallic that made shit look, but it has mica in it, so now I would not use it. Y'all, I talked about mica in last video. I don't need beautiful glitter at the cost of like children's well-being, you know, I don't care. But it does look cool. It makes it look really metallic and shiny and cool. Actually, they gave us like this thing, and then like these neon colors we had to paint on this. So like I did like some gradation and shit. This was like a medium, like something that they were selling that they gave us a sample of, where it's like a white, it's white and it's a thick kind of paste and you paint it down and then you could paint over it whenever it dried. So that's why we had these little strips and shit. And then like for the example, because we had to like include some acrylic example. Again, I've lost most of the actual pieces, but for this, I have been kind of working on this Ginsberg thing. We're not gonna get into Ginsberg. I ain't gonna talk about him. I like his poetry. I question him and some of his ideas. Some of them I agree with regarding like economics and shit and like the whole beat movement, but there's some other shit that I'm totally not down with that I don't agree with. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. But yeah, I like that poem Sunflower Sutra. So like the idea here, I wanted to do like a little bit of that calligraphy. So the poem is like, we are not our skin of grime. We are not dread, bleak, dusty, imageless locomotive. We're all beautiful golden sunflowers inside. So yeah, this was just something that I was playing around with at the studio. Alright, and then the last thing we did in class was egg tempera, which was really fucking fun, but I don't like the medium, obviously. We had to mix our own. There's like, obviously as a vegan, and I was trying to go vegan then, I was not vegan yet, but I was in the process of switching over. I really didn't like having to do this, but you know, y'all are gonna do whatever you're gonna do. If you wanted to make egg tempera, this is the ingredients. It's like 1 egg yolk. You don't use the white, you don't use the casing. You got to make sure you take the casing of the yolk. Like there's like this membrane that holds the yolk together. That's got to be removed for this to work. It's also very fiddly. And it's not gonna last forever. Like even the egg tempera piece that I have hanging in our kitchen, I'll bring it over here in just a minute, but it's not gonna last forever. But this is like a really old fucking technique. You got the egg yolk only, 6 to 7 drops of linseed oil. Linseed oil is like very flammable. It's also something that you don't want to be huffing. Linseed oil is something when you're doing oil painting. That's why you gotta have like a well-aired space, is because of all the chemicals, which is fine. I'm not shitting on it. I'm just warning y'all, just giving you a little safety warning that if you do something like this, make sure you got like a well-aired area that you're working in. And then you got like 3 drops of vinegar and then like 2 to 3 drops of water. You mix it all together. And then you mix in your color, your powdered color, whatever the fuck you're gonna use, whatever kind of color you're gonna use. So yeah, I guess I called this the Pandora's box. Again, there used to be a box, but that box I threw away years ago. So yeah, those are all the different mediums that we experimented with in my Art 101 survey course. It was really fucking educational. I learned some very valuable things. I got to try and experiment with things in the class where I didn't, like, aside from like the supplies that you pay, that the professor will buy the things for the course or for the class, that meant that I didn't have to buy all this shit individually, which would have been so incredibly expensive. I got to experiment with it in class. I got to experiment with it with instruction from someone who knows how to use the materials. I wasn't just having to fly by the seat of my pants. And then I got like some mentorships, and I got constructive criticism from both the professor and my classmates and myself. Actually, all 3, there were 3 people I was and I was giving feedback to other students and like contributing to their growth as an artist. So if you can take like a community college art class, or if you're able to afford an art class, or if you're just able to do like, sometimes like if you're in a city, there'll be like people who are just teaching like classes, you know, paint this, paint a bridge at sunset, paint this, that, or the other, paint a bowl of fruit. There are ways for you to kind of get introduced to different materials without having to, you know, break your bank. And I was fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of this because of my status as like a university employee. But there are other ways for you to get introduced to these different materials without having to buy everything yourself and find out the hard way that you don't fucking like silver point. I just spent 20 bucks on, I don't know how much it is at all, you guys, I'm just pulling numbers out of the pulling it out of the air. But like 20 bucks on silver point, and I gotta have it the right size for my pencil. This is what I use, by the way. There it is, right there. There it is. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to waste your money on it and find out that you don't like it. Yeah. I don't know if this video was helpful or useful to anyone at all, but if there's anything in here that you're interested in, I'm gonna try to like put like a chapter listing so that you can skip ahead if you want, or go back if you need to watch something and hear me babble about. So I really don't go into detail on this, okay? So I'm really not really giving that much information. Again, this is like very much a survey, but I hope it was helpful. If anything piqued your interest, I suggest you do some research on it. Like learn yourself, check books out from the library, find somebody that makes videos on it that uses the material themselves a lot, find instruction somewhere, explore yourself and see if it's something that you like. I'm gonna be out of here. I'm out of here. This is gonna be a quick video. So thank you for watching. Peace and love. Fare you well and keep on trucking.